Perfect. So there's a couple of things we can definitely talk about here, but I just kind of want to start off by saying that I was actually listening to Mitochondrion at the gym, and I had a nasty leg session to get through, but the record got me through it, man, and it's awesome. So really, really glad to be speaking to you today.
Hey, that sounds great. I don't usually advise people listen to it in anywhere where you have to use your body because it might fuck your mind up too much. And yeah, you never know. The results might vary.
Sure. Well, today it kind of worked, you know. I mean,
I'm
it
glad.
helps being experienced. Maybe this is one of those "don't try this at home" kind of situations, you know, for anyone listening.
Yeah,
But
funny enough, I just read a study that said, something like psilocybin might actually be good for the gym because it helps you kind of like focus in. So maybe something that's kind of like psychedelic might actually be beneficial. Anyway,
mm,
save that for another time.
now that's interesting. No, I mean, you immediately piqued my interest there because what happens with psilocybin is that I've noticed that even with the way your vision works, I've noticed that you kind of have a more holistic view of your surroundings. Like I feel like the blank dark corners of your vision kind of disappears, and then you actually have a more 360 vision of the world
Yeah.
around you. You know, and that's not a hallucination. It actually enhances your alertness when it comes to that.
Well, there you go.
There we go. Cool, man. So maybe let's talk a little bit about this band, you know, because with Mitochondrion, obviously to me, I'm a huge fan of, just generally speaking, a lot of kind of like the, for lack of a better term, occult death metal stuff that kind of came out in like late 2000s, early 2010s. You know, I mean, it was you guys. Pseudogod comes to mind. Our
Mm.
good friends in Grave Miasma, they're kind of, you know, very much in the conversation, or especially like the first Dead Congregation album is also a fucking masterpiece. And well, I feel like you guys were doing something really interesting, you know. And as I said, I was listening to Parasynosis, if I'm saying the name correctly, earlier,
You
and
got it.
there's just such an interesting thing to that. I mean, that album in particular, I feel like there's like such a long build up before like you actually get the first taste of the vocals, you know. And think that is so interesting, the way time is kind of decorated, you know, and it kind of takes you through this journey before it gets to that point. So maybe let's just talk about it, man. You know, just tell me more about the band. How'd you end up conjuring such ideas?
For sure. So we were three guys growing up on Vancouver Island. So if you're not familiar, it's an island off of BC. Takes about, hour and a half by ferry to get there and another good hour drive to get there. So we were very much living in an isolated way, even though we didn't really think about it that way, but culturally and at least musically at the time, it was very isolated. We got a few tours coming through, but what that meant is it kind of forced local bands to really just explore their own consciousness and imagination. And we were just, and at the time, this is like very early internet days. So it wasn't just total permeation of everything available at your fingertips at all times. So you're selectively exposed to really whatever crossed your path. So whatever you would find in the record store, read in the magazine, maybe you would download an MP3 here and there. A friend would recommend you something, you'd take a chance on a record. So we had some very odd approaches to the music uh, that necessarily wasn't coming from a specific tradition or a specific through point. I find like a lot of bands nowadays, they have such a holistic view of musical lineages and traditions that it's very easy to laser focus on a sound or a scene that they want to replicate or at least pay homage to. And for us, it was kind of like, fuck it, everything's on the table. Let's throw it all together. And that was everything from, extreme brutal death metal, weird black metal, strange neo folk and martial, and all the stuff we were listening to at the time. And we just were like, yeah, throw it all together. Let's make the most odd, inaccessible, unheard of music that we could at the time.
Hmm.
And pretty early on, we got exposed to some pretty cool underground acts. I go back to this one show that we were put on a bill very young. I think some of us weren't even allowed to be in the bar at the time, and we opened for Inquisition and Rites of Thy Degringolade. So
Hmm.
at that time, we had only been familiar with, say, Emperor, Suffocation, the what you kind of cut your teeth on as a teenager,
Yes.
and then that show really just like collectively blew our minds and forced us in down this path of, okay, we have to go darker, we have to go stranger, we have to satisfy this feeling that's been evoked in us and figure out what that is. So a
Well, I
lot
feel
of it
like you
was
definitely did do that part, at least.
yeah, yeah. We definitely plumbed the depths of what our minds were capable of at the time. And so before Parasinosis, we did the album Archaon, and we
That's
did that
right.
album 100% independently. We recorded it ourselves, mixed it. I think I think we even mastered the first run of it, designed the layout, got the CDs printed, and then I distributed it myself just through trading, and some early champions early on. Like I think an early version of Ross Bay Cult put it up on his website. Was pretty friendly with Ryan back then. Still am, but like that was an early good connection that we
Great
had.
guy.
Yeah, he's been on your show before, hasn't he?
Yeah. He has been, and
Yeah.
he's always great to chat to, and super knowledgeable, and obviously has a tremendous position in this in our niche as a whole. I could spend hours just talking about the first Conqueror record or the only Conqueror record.
Absolutely.
So
And we're
yeah.
freaks for that music. When I was in grade 10, one of the old the our old bassist, this has now become folklore amongst us. There was a janitor at his high school. He
Mhm.
goes up to him and he says, "Hey, you like that? You like heavy metal?" Reaches into his jacket, pulls out a dubbed tape of War Cult Supremacy, and says, "Listen to this. These are my friends." And we took that home and listened to it, and we're just like, what the fuck is this? How is this possible? And that was pretty early on. So we were
Nice.
aware of Conqueror quite early. Even though we were in the same city, we were like, 15, 16 years old. And so
Sure.
flash forward, and we're again, because you don't have all the tools available to make all these instant connections, like, oh well, Conqueror, Revenge, Sacramentary Abolishment, and you start making now you can do that with a few clicks. Back then you're just like, oh, there's this insane band called Conqueror. I don't understand what it is. I don't know what genre this is, but I'm completely enamored with it.
Yeah.
And so like I can remember being in scenarios where people are like, "Oh, you don't even know Revenge, but you know Conquer so well. What's wrong with you?" So you get schooled by people who are a little bit older than you too back then, which was cool because it doesn't happen so often because the knowledge is everywhere,
Yeah.
for better or worse. Anyway, I
Yeah, of course.
I digress severely, but yeah, huge respect for Ryan and James and all the stuff that they were doing back then. That kind of original wave of what has now been called war metal. I fucking hate that term, but whatever blossomed that music for like that to me is the real heart of black metal in the world. You can have your Norway, you can have your Scandinavia. For me,
Hmm.
it's Western Canada had the harshest and still the harshest music to date.
You know what? That's hard to dispute. I mean, for me, I feel like so. To me, the essence of black metal, we can just talk about this, man. We'll come back to your stuff, but like to me, the essence of this genre is I I personally connect much more to what a lot of the first wave stuff we're doing, but more so to me, it's like kind of the cusp of that when you look back at Brazil in
Mm.
1986, 1987. You already know the bands, the famous four-way split, And to me, that kind of encapsulates the real vibe of what this genre is supposed to be. Or Volcano, that's another
Yeah.
great example as well, But I think that Canada's approach was a lot closer to that in a way. You know, like if you take Conqueror and Sarcophago next to and put them next to each other, to me that feels like more of a direct continuation. You know, and don't get me wrong, I am a sucker for Dark Throne. You know, like that's
Yeah.
not take away from that. You know, or like. Early immortal stuff, but at the same time, you know, I feel like Canada definitely has had a special place on the map, but that's more so something that I think, unless you were there like you guys at the time, it would have been difficult to appreciate that on an international scale at the time, because even with War Cult Supremacy, what, that album didn't even come out until 3 years after it was released, after it was recorded rather.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stuff, it's only now in hindsight, when you've got access to the internet, you get to look back and see, wow, holy shit, look at what these guys were doing, you know?
And you don't even realize that there's a like a so-called movement, you know. You're just like completely just in it and fascinated by the music around you. It's
Yeah.
not until you have this ability to take a step back and look back in retrospect and be like, "Oh yeah, fuck, there were all these things going on at the same time." Because we're just too young and too, insanely rabid about this music. But you're absolutely right. Like that, those early seeds, had been planted long before. But the cool thing is to think about, like, you have bands like Blasphemy, of course,
Mm.
and some of like the harsher thrash bands that were
I
coming out
just
of
saw them, by the way. Sorry to interrupt your flow. I literally just watched Blasphemy up on the mountains in Austria,
um
and it was
yeah,
hands down the best
saw
fucking
the
show I've ever seen them do, man. It was crazy.
saw the footage. I would love to go to House of the Holy one day, man. That is like one of my bucket list festivals. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Bro, words don't do it justice.
Yeah.
It was really sad to not have Bart himself there. My sincere condolences to his friends, crew, family, everyone. But it was so fucking special to be there, to be present there in his home, in a home, you know, because it's like, you know, there's a lot. I don't know how much I'm at the, um, uh, I don't know how much I'm allowed to kind of share on the podcast, you know, and I want to be totally respectful of them. But what I will say, just speaking about the festival itself, there's nothing else like it.
Mm.
Okay, I don't know if they will choose to continue with him or not. Without him, rather. I hope that they do for my own personal reasons, but I also understand if they choose not to. But man, if they do continue, you have to fucking go there, because it is unlike anything else I've ever been to. It's the realest. That's the best way I can describe it. It's the realest festival I've been to. Not true as in TRVE. No, no, no. The realest. All right,
Yeah.
because it surpasses that shit. It surpasses all of
A
that. You know,
proper
it's, yeah,
proper experience, like
it
a
feels like a
spiritual.
family, and it is a spiritual experience. Absolutely, I say that with zero shot of a doubt, and I feel actually honored to have been able to attend. Just a shame that it was in his absence. That's all.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, to me, as so I've been involved with a number of genres over the years. The closest thing that I've ever seen are some of these kind of uh, like kind of neo folk or post-industrial folk events that I've been involved with. There was one in the US called Stella Natura that a lot of people were uh, in attendance and speak highly of still to this day. That was like 2012. And that's
Mm.
the closest thing that I've seen on this side of the world that kind of amalgamated, metal and other genres that are touching upon the same essence in a completely immersive location like that, and really curating the experience in a sensory way, an audio way, like I said, totally immersive. So that's
Mm.
cool. I'm really, really glad to hear that, and it's cool that Blasphemy got to be a part of that as well.
It
These
was nuts,
fucking
man.
chaotic, uh, street thugs got to be a part of this like spiritual mountain festival is incredible. I love what
Bro,
that those guys are seeing such a powerful like final phase of their career. It's amazing.
bro, it was nuts because I like, okay, it's not often I go into pits, okay? Normally, when I do, a lot of times it kind of tends to clear out after a little while, you know, because people see me on the podcast and assume I'm just like a normal person, okay? So when I'm in a pit, and then that kind of changes a little bit. But it was like one of those pits where there was like enough strong people in there to actually fucking make it work.
I
And
can
it was
imagine.
fucking awesome, man. It was fucking great. Somehow, miraculously, I managed to keep my shades on throughout the entire thing. Um,
Mandatory.
Mandatory, absolutely. But it was just pure magic. And I remember, Sean, like at one point, I just had both fists to the sky, fucking screaming, just being primal, and this is the
Yeah.
power of this music. And I'm like, there's like this wall of fucking sound coming at me from in front of me. And then I look up and I'm seeing like a billion stars in the sky at the same time. That
Wow.
was
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah.
man. Like, holy shit. That's why we're here. That's what this music was made for. Fucking sheer primal fucking power that you can take over the entire planet with and the galaxies. Fuck
And
yeah.
just
Boom.
off in the distance is a mountain cliffside, right? One of the
Yeah,
best views in the world.
it
That's
is. Yeah, yeah,
fun.
yeah. It is, man. It was something else. I think that's
That's
how it was
great.
meant to be experienced.
It sure beats the hell out of seeing Blasphemy at the Rickshaw Theater in East Vancouver, in surrounded by death, decay, addiction, and sorrow. But uh,
Because
we
you
take
you
what we can
had them
get.
at
Yeah,
Covenant just last year, right? Am I getting that
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had them at Covenant. It was kind of a good homecoming in a way. We had Death Worship and Blasphemy on the same bill, and then we kind of did that bill that they've been traveling around doing. So
Mm.
that was cool. It was a good homecoming. We had done Blasphemy before under our kind of Covenant Festival promotion, uh, and that was the first time they had played Vancouver in quite a long time. So we had made a good connection with those guys,
Mm.
and we always kind of any show, any fest, whatever that we're putting on, regardless of their involvement, we always have Blasphemy +5 on the guest list
Hmm.
at all times. So yeah, they're pretty legendary as you can imagine in this city. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, which makes
and
it more interesting
must be
that you say.
treated as such, we like we're saying
Yeah,
it's originators. It's our version of Volcano. It's our version of Beharit, that's they're peers.
absolutely, man, for sure. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the festival as well, because
Yeah.
you've got the latest edition coming up in September, 24th till 26th of September. You got a fucking stacked lineup as well, man. You got
Yeah,
uh,
that's it's cool. I'd love to get into the history kind of the festival and how we got to this point. This is our 11th edition, which is insane. We've been doing this
that's awesome.
for 11 years, as you would imagine. We've done two editions in Montreal, and then we did kind of a one-off edition that we, kept secret, invite only, and then the remaining eight have been in Vancouver. Started off pretty humbly, just three guys hanging out in a brewery, shooting the shit. It was 2014. Mitochondrion and another band I was in at the time, Orok, had seen some
Hmm.
success. We had done some touring. We had kind of made friends. We had played festivals. We had a decent network growing, and we just started throwing this idea around. It kind of blossomed out of a record night that we had here locally with some close buddies, just playing vinyl only black and death metal records for friends. And so we said, what if we took Covenant the DJ night and made Covenant the festival? And of course, we're all Morbid Angel freaks, so that's why it's called Covenant. And yeah, and from
Nice.
there just started texting, fucking messaging people in our phones. Hey, would you guys want to come to Vancouver and play a festival with us and Mito and whoever? And people just like, yeah, 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 let's do it, let's do it. And before we knew it, we had a lineup. We're like, holy shit, that's that's it. And we just kept going, kept going. The only big pause was over the pandemic, but we managed to even do
Mm.
an edition over the pandemic, which was fucked, with the masks and the passports and all that shit. But we still
Ooh,
managed to pull one off. It was
that's
like
good.
everyone had to be seated out front, but backstage it was just chaos. Like nobody gave a fuck. It was like a big reunion because nobody had hung out in a long time. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that shit, but
I was gonna say
yeah,
because Canada was a bit fucked as well in that time. It's probably
yeah, it was it
really
was it
sad to
was
see, by
pretty.
the way. But
It
Anyway,
was heavy-handed for sure. Yep.
yeah.
And uh and then we took a little break after a post-pandemic edition we did. And then we were like, you know what? The 10-year anniversary is coming up. We got to do something. And me and one of the guys, because Sebastian, who was in Mitochondrion and Orok, he was kind of the main driving force. He was a little burnt out. He's like, I can't. I got to take a step back. And so me and the other guy who were left, we were looking at each other like, should we do this? And I was like, I don't know, man. It's a lot of fucking work. Like, I don't know if I have the energy. And the other guy, Mayo, he's a local promoter here. He puts on all the kind of touring acts.
Okay.
And he's like, "Come on, we got to do it. We got to do it." And I probably had just enough drinks in me at that night. I was like, "All right, fuck it, let's do it." But I'm not doing it with you, just you and me. We got to get more people involved. So we expanded it into a committee. There's 9 guys on the team now. We've delegated, allocated. We're like, let's make this bigger. Let's make this more of a thing. Let's take this beyond what 3 guys are capable of and see what 9 people are capable of. So the festival last year was our first go at doing this as a committee. Super successful. We've got a lot of passionate people involved, some younger blood in there too, which is really great to have because they
Mm.
keep their eyes on the scene. Because I'm fucking 41 now, and I can't listen to every stupid band that comes along. So having a couple guys in their late 20s and early 30s to just like listen to all the shit and vet it for us. There you go. Thank you. Um,
That's awesome.
and yeah, so and we're going into the second year with that with yeah, a significantly larger scope than we've done before.
Well, just to kind of give people a taste of it, I mean, the lineup is fucking outrageous. So you've got the Ruins of Beverast, great band, Miss Therming, Ruim. Bro, have you seen Ruim live yet?
No, no, but
It's it's
it's
fucking
I
nuts.
that's
It,
probably my personal excitement for that is highest because it's blasphemer, and then the drummer came and played last year with Thy Darkened Shade and Sharimoth, Cesar from he lives in France, and we made a good connection with that guy, so it'd be cool to have him back, but then also now fucking blasphemer, which is wild.
yeah, yeah, he's. I saw his show at Fortress Festival in the UK last year, and honestly, I was just like, this is it. Like imagine what Mayhem's Chimera was supposed to be in a
Yeah,
purified essence and a perfect live show with a psychedelic intro. I won't give away too much more than that, but fuck, it's good, man. It's really good, and his
excellent,
vocals are spot on. His vocals are as good live as they are on the record, if not better.
amazing.
Super impressive, and he has a great backing band as well. Some French guys who are obviously they've been around. The people can look this up for themselves.
Yeah,
But yeah,
some
man, it's
some
a
vets in
great
there.
lineup you got going on. You got Abyssal from UK, Volan, great band. You got the guys from Barshesketh from Scotland. You got Loca Brenna. You got my buddy Sterla from
That's right.
Spartidadi on there. That's
Everybody's buddy. Holy,
yeah.
this guy knows more people than anyway. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. That's cool. I've been in touch with Sterla since MySpace when early days of Mito, early days of Svarti just
Oh yeah,
yakking at each other.
that's
But
cool.
yeah, so he's friends with some local friends too. It's small fucking world, man.
It is, and you also have Egregore as well. That's one of
Yeah.
your projects where you do drums in, right?
Yeah, drums and
Okay.
vocals. It's gonna be the first show that we played since the release of It Echoes in the Wild. So it'll be kind of presenting that
I
album
love the
in as
cover for that
much.
one, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I love the cover for that, and I was really intrigued to have a listen to it, and I was actually listening to it prior to our chat. I was like, "Fuck, this is a really cool album." I hope people aren't sleeping on this. So
Thanks. Yeah, it's
yeah,
different. It's definitely not the like dark abysmal death metal that I've mainly been known for in this scene, but it's doing something a little different. But we're having a lot of fun with it. We're trying to just take the piss a little bit, not be as serious, but also be really serious at the same time. It's definitely like a band in character, which has been a fun thing to explore and try something totally different.
also what a great band name, Egregore. Come on, like that's great.
You know it. it hadn't been taken in a significant way. There's like a couple demo bands, but we're like, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna use it.
That's actually shocking to
I've
me.
always wanted to use that band name.
Yeah, I can't believe nobody used that before. That's like the perfect band name.
There's
Nice.
one guy in the States who made a really cool demo. He's just like a one man project though, and he's given us his blessings. We're like, all right, we're using it. We're gonna try something funny and maybe even get him to collaborate on the next record. Maybe play like a guest solo or something.
Oh yeah,
Just be like
that'd be cool.
Egregore featuring Egregore. That's the kind of like confusing, stupid shit we like to do. It's have a good time with it.
Yeah. So tell me then, like, why should people want to come to Covenant? What is different about the festival? What what kind of sets it apart? Why would and this is not just for people who are like local to Vancouver or
Yeah.
Canadians in general, but why would someone want to like buy a flight from like let's say Europe or like South America to fly over to Vancouver to see Covenant this
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, so logistically, just alone, we keep it smaller. It's not like these overblown festivals where you just there's too many people. You don't get to see the band. It sounds you just there's such a giant separation between audience and performer. But also being in Canada, you never have to worry about shit like oh so and so didn't get their visa. Like that just doesn't exist here.
Mm,
Everybody can come and play. It's not a big deal. We have
okay.
a very open policy when it comes to artists coming to the country. So that there's the logistics side. The other side is we started Covenant because we had such profound experiences playing European festivals early on. Specifically, we got to play at Killtown Deathfest in Copenhagen
Yep.
in 2014. And that was this completely mind altering experience for us. Like, wow, we've never been treated so well. A band that has only played in North America, you get treated like shit here. You're lucky if they're like, here's a loaf of bread and a stack of lunch meat, two beers. Okay, there you go. Place to stay? No, fuck you. So when we went there and they were like, you're
That
fed, you're
sounded
put up.
generous compared to what John McKenty from Incantation was telling me. So, yeah,
That's a bad look. Anyway,
yeah,
uh, yeah. So we get treated really well, and we're like, this is how it should be. This is the new norm. So we want everybody from the artists to the attendees to everyone to have like a very high quality experience, but not just like put on by a kind of heartless production company who has a lot of money to throw around because money can only go so far. We're all mega fans of this music, so we're bringing as much heart as we can and passion. We know what we want to see. We're treating the festival like a band, so to speak. Like you make the music you want to hear. Well, we're creating the experience that we want to experience.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. I think there's an aspect of like this is something I keep coming back on this podcast, man. And I think that there is an art element to putting on a show, and more importantly, curating a
100%.
show.
100% agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
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 I've been trying to apply that since I was a kid, putting on local shows. I'd put on like a harsh noise opener to set the scene. But also logistically that makes sense because it's just one guy. And then,
right.
try to mix the bands enough so that it's not just like the same sounding death metal three times in a row, but just give something a little bit unique. You have to appreciate that kind of flow as an audience, like you don't want to just be pummeled by the same fucking wall of noise, the exact same wall of noise. It's going to be a wall of noise, but
Yeah,
how is that ebb and flow of styles, of bands, of atmosphere? How does that all you got to take that into account. So I agree with you. Putting on a show is an art form, and if you ignore it, then it comes off as a bit stale or a bit kind of you can go see bands and that's fun, but like it's the difference between having this immersive, again, there's that word again, experience and just going to a concert.
you know what? I'm so glad to hear you say that because that's kind of been one of my pet peeves is going to festivals are also playing festivals, which, by the way, in the first step, I'm always grateful that they took a chance on us in Trivex and they had us come over. And, and I appreciate it, how much work it takes to run a festival, however way you do it, okay? And sometimes it takes more work if you're going to be so intentional about the curation and the setting and all that stuff. And I have total respect for anyone who's willing to take the risk to do that. And the time and the effort. It's a lot of fucking work. People don't see how much work goes into a weekend, which to them might just be a case of, hey, let's listen to some music and drink some beer. There's a lot of work involved. But the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes you go and you watch the lineups for like the rest of the day, because I do like checking out bands. I'm not like a fucking like, oh, whatever, I'm only there for our set kind of thing. No, I like to listen to other bands and see what's
Yeah,
what, and because
agreed.
sometimes you'll hear something that's gonna blow your fucking mind. It's like, oh fuck, I need to check these guys out, and that does happen from time to time. But there's also been occasions where you go and watch the festival bands, like the bills from start to finish. It's like it's as if it's the same band, but with different logos showing up on stage, and then doing the same thing. Everyone's going Satan, Satan, Sanctus covered in blood, whatever, same fucking side stage, like fucking sigil backdrops. It's like, come on, man, just fucking give me a little bit more than that. Like, what's your personality? Like, what are you
Yeah.
really into this for? And to me, it's a bit more interesting, and obviously, yeah, it's just a preference of mine, like I get some people, because to me, at that point, it starts being too formalized. And it's not so much about like the authentic expression of the bands, and it's the same impression for the festival as well, where it's like, I get that we're going for this thing here, but it's like, I just need a bit more, I need something to stand out, and I feel like with Trivex, we sometimes stand out at these festivals because we have, you know, some of our bits, or maybe even in the style that I interact with the crowd, because I'm not shy to talk to the crowd at all. I like doing it. We're there to fucking connect to people, and I'm not gonna abide by certain social fucking squares and cages that everyone else in the genres put in there. I don't give a fuck about that. We're there to share riffs that we fucking like and we enjoy playing, and hopefully you guys like it too. Fuck it, let's have fun, let's fucking blow the roof off the place, so that's always been my number one attitude. And that's always the thing I like to see from other bands as well. So I like the fact that you're taking extra time and care to kind of curate the festival in a way that kind of, it's dynamic, it goes up and down. It's not just like a flat line of blast beats and masks and hoods, you know?
Yeah, yeah, man. Because it's like, I feel like once a formula gets hit upon and people realize that it works, inevitably, a dozen or so bands follow and it's follow suit, very uninspired. So we try to find out, like, who's carrying that kind of spirit, who do we feel a kinship with, who's bringing that kind of like DIY ethos.
Mm,
Because to me that's still extremely important.
yeah.
Because to me this is like, passion always. This isn't a profession. This isn't going to be, this is a calling. This isn't like, business is important when like to cover your costs or to like make some money that you deserve. But at the end of the day, this is passion first. And if you have decided to walk this path in life, then that's what guides you. Nothing else. It's not
Mm,
money, it's not commerce, it's not accolades. It's this fucking thing that you have to, and so like if you're making your life about passion and you're following that as your North Star, then you better fucking do it right. Why would you half-ass that thing? If this is your life essence, why would you half-ass it? So I just don't think there's any other way to do it. You better do it right. That's all I have to say.
what would you say, as someone who's obviously taking on the responsibility of running a festival, doing all of these different things, multitasking, and knowing the kind of pressure that comes with that, what would you say is the importance of physical exercise and physical exertion to kind of keep yourself grounded I suppose, when it comes to that. Because I know you're a fellow iron worshiper, as same as I am. So yeah, man. What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Ah, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but I think if I could just riff on it, just the connection would be, this is something that does demand a lot of you physically on the day of, for sure. So there's that aspect. But I think it's just like you need to find something that brings you back down to earth, something that keeps you motivated and grounded. And what I love about going to the gym and doing something that's very just body focused is that it gives you that moment to just kind of only focus on the one thing and really be present. And I
Mm,
think that kind of experience and cultivating that as a skill in itself, whether that's, meditative, you get the same benefits from meditating in a spiritual way. But I feel like to me, working out is kind of meditation in a physical way. So more of that kind of just remaining present and remaining able to just like feel that moment because running the cool thing about running a festival or playing a show or whatever is you have to be able to give yourself that moment of like watching yourself do it or stepping outside and observing your surroundings where you're like, wow, this is happening. Look at all these people who came here. This is fucking nuts. This was a stupid idea that a bunch of guys had, and it's grown beyond its the sum of its parts. Or when you're physically playing a show, and I know you've had this experience where your brain jumps out of your body and looks down and be like, fucking hell, look at this. This is working out pretty well. Or like, I can't believe this scenario that I'm in. And your body is able to then go on and do it on you know, autopilot muscle memory, so to speak. Anyway,
every goddamn time, man. Every time.
so I find a lot of that grounding, a lot of that presence comes from working out because when you're trying to push a set to failure or you're trying to get that last fucking rep, there's nothing else than that moment. Because if your brain deviates for a second,
Mm,
then you're fucked, or you're just
right.
not going to get it, right? So I think, yeah, that sense of presence is what I attribute that to. Also, just discipline. Fucking,
Yeah.
you want to like follow a plan, you want to make a plan, you want to get something done, you want to see results, then you better be disciplined. And juggling. God, I calculated it the other day. I think active projects is something like five or six for me right now, musically, of different genres, plus the festival, plus work, plus travel, plus relationships. You have to learn how to make that shit work. And so like being able to formulate and execute and see something through and be disciplined.
This is the way, man. So you said a really interesting thing there about presence and being in the moment. Now let's look at it like this. Imagine you're running a festival, you have eight other people that you're kind of working with in a form of symbiosis, and then you have responsibilities of your own. You need to be able to make decisions on the spot, okay? Something that a lot of people like to say they can do, but until you're there in the moment and you've got the reps in, it's a whole different ball game, right?
Yeah.
And as someone in my position, I can absolutely attest to that. And now imagine the following. Let's say in a hypothetical example, somebody just shows up to you and then says, "Hey, Shawn, um, one of the bands just flew in and the guitars didn't arrive, or like one of the members is drunk, and he got kicked off the plane and he never made it over here." And you're not going to be like, "Okay, let me just scroll a little bit more on TikTok. I'll get back to you on that." No. You need to make a fucking decision on the spot, okay? And that's why it is good, it is important to be able to be in the moment, to push yourself to do things that force you to focus on the now. And it's another reason why I love cold exposure. I had a conversation with someone
Mm.
yesterday about like depression and anxiety. I was like, look, man, one of the best things you can do is just get in the cold, because your mind might be over there thinking about what's happening there. Oh, what did she say 2 weeks ago that hurt my feelings? Or like, why did he look at me like that? Or look at what's happening in the world, look at the news, look at what so and so said. I can't believe they're letting these people in the country. And then it's like, you just get to like, if you get in the cold, you can't even think about any of that shit, because all you can think about is just surviving the moment of,
Yeah.
holy fuck, I'm freezing my balls off, I need to survive, I need to live. Okay. And when you
Yeah.
come out eventually, it's like this form of just being centered and grounded, like, okay, like, just calm down, one problem at a time. You need to be able to kind of break things down and approach him individually, and, as you said, be in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And I think with a festival or with a band or even just job, I work at desk job, so a lot of it is just very mental, and being able to just completely silence your mind for a little bit too, and just go inward and be and make that connection back to that a bit of primal uh, state is always beneficial. You should probably keep that part of yourself alive in as many ways as you can, um, while also giving space to your mind, to your spirit, to your emotional health. But don't forget that physical side, because it's easy for a lot of philosophers, armchair occultists, intellectuals, even folks who are very well put together emotionally to ignore that side of themselves. But I think it's a holistic thing, to be honest. And to be able to like navigate your life as best as you can, you should probably have all of those things in some order. So that's equally as important to me as, say, a spiritual practice, a creative practice, you know, therapeutic, whatever you want to call it. To me, there's no difference. It's kind of interwoven into all of it.
Acta non verba, man. That is the way, because you mentioned these armchair occultists. It makes me laugh because there's so many of them in the scene, and it's like you got people who can read. Okay, it's like, good for you. You read 50 books, and you read like 100 different variations of Citra Akra. Like, unless you can fucking put whatever the hell it is into action, that absolutely means nothing. You're just carrying a bunch of fucking bullshit. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like, unless it's the same
Yeah.
as like reading a whole bunch of fucking like self-help books or whatever, and then not changing a
And doing
single bit
nothing.
of your behavior. Yeah, that's where do you think that's gonna go? Nowhere. I'll spoiler. It's not gonna
Yeah.
go anywhere.
Or
You
watching
know.
like hours of Mike Israetel videos and then never lifting a weight,
No, exactly. And chances are you're gonna lose your hair doing that too. Anyway, like I did. Yeah, or develop a bubble gut. But ultimately,
Yeah.
but the thing is,
We should just have our own podcast where we just talk shit about fitness influencers.
I would love to. I would love to. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think I'm not even talking shit about him. I
No,
guess I
no,
kind
no.
of.
But just in general, we could probably just go off on this for hours.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Okay, bit of it like a sort of like a tangent, offbeat question, but I'm just totally curious because I've actually been wanting to ask you this. Maybe it actually relates to our conversation now. I don't know,
Hmm.
but I'll ask it anyway. Where did you get the name mitochondrion from?
Sure. I mean, I've probably answered this question dozens of times over the years in various interviews. But okay, it's as simple as when we were younger, we were teenagers. Our old bassist Nick found it in a science book and thought it was an interesting word. And then we dug a little deeper and we're like, oh, it's the powerhouse of the cell. Wait a second. And so the brains got turning. Now, picture this: we're also both of us were in Catholic high school. Uh, we're not religious people, but just families and whatever circumstances. We ended up at this school. So we're like these vicious little atheists in this Catholic high school. The only two metal kids in the whole school. And so we're like, yeah, there we go. That's the only motivator of life right there. There's no God. There's no spirit. It's just the
Right.
mitochondrion. That's the only thing driving life. And so that was the original impetus behind it. Uh, and then you kind of grow up and you expand your horizons. You have your own experiences, rather outside of just being reactionary to your surroundings as a teenager. And uh, and for us, we were lucky because the project followed us through life. And as we developed in life, So does the project, and so does our outlook and our philosophy that we put back into it. So then it became okay. Well, what are the original what can we learn about mitochondrion in general? Like, where does it come from? What's the deal? So the there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the mitochondrion is a derivative of an original kind of parasitic source that entered the mammalian cell. So then
Okay.
a lot of other themes that we had been talking about was this kind of like parasitic wisdom, almost kind of like inspiration or insight or some kind of enlightenment in spite of yourself.
Like the
Uh,
muse?
there you go.
Right.
Exactly. So the connection was pretty crazy to us, and they're like, okay, we found a new take on this name, and why is that the case, and why is it driving our us on a physical level? What other kind of macrocosm, microcosm can you connect through there? Anyway, I tend to get like super cerebral and almost kind of you know manifesto diatribe about these things. So
Please
we
carry
could
on.
probably.
No, I'm serious, man. Because this got really interesting for me here. So basically, what it's referring to initially, right? So I get it. Backstory is initially it started out as a way of, I guess, almost like tapping into science, like in the name of science, to
That's right.
essentially like kind of rebel against that forced Catholic mindset. Okay, which I totally understand, man. Like I get it. I've
Yeah.
been through it in
You
the
of all
Islamic
people, I'm sure.
context. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. But now it's more so. So as you said, it's more so like a like parasitic knowledge in a way of I guess something, I guess a bit like also similar to maybe mycelium as well, you could say.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming with that. Um, it's definitely like there's an intelligence there, There's
Mm.
an intelligence that we don't quite understand. I mean, we don't, as in us in the band don't. I'm sure there are fucking brilliant scientists who do. And but as far as that goes, the way
Somebody's
we're
remote
talking about
viewing
it,
that information as we speak.
that's right. There's nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's it, man. Please carry on.
Yeah. So yeah, and then to me there it's like it takes a one step further into my own kind of personal beliefs. Again, take another step forward. I'm in my 20s. My dear friend hands me Liber Null and Psychonaut by Peter J. Carroll. And I was like, oh my fucking God. My mind
Yeah.
explodes. Because I had been dabbling within, Aleister Crowley, little, like, basic kind of bullshit black metal Satanism, just out of an interest sake. But then there was like, this is the first time anything has ever made sense to me. So then what I'm talking about there, the chaos magic, the idea of different belief systems kind of being malleable, and then looking at it in this kind of more personal now in this perennialist view, where what are we looking at in terms of belief systems? What is the kind of collective structure that's guiding these belief systems? Because there's so much synchronicity between different, or sorry, syncretism between different belief systems that suggests that there's something more going on than just these pure spiritual or whatever traditions that live in isolation and they just happen to be the share the exact same structure. So to me, there's kind of like there's this human driving force that we have that we look for a system to justify these urges, and that's why it takes these certain forms. That's why there's always something about rebirth. There's always a sacrifice. There's some kind of a sacrament. There's some. Why is that coming up again and again in different human civilizations, unconnected around the world? Anyway, so what I'm suggesting is that there's the science view of the name, there's the spiritual view of the name, and then there's but to me there's kind of no difference, and it touches upon this idea where like what is this spirituality, this occultism? Is it spirit? Is it psychology? Is it just the chemicals in the human brain firing? Is it outside, forces? Call it what you will. Maybe it's all of that. And maybe all of that is just what that is. It's all the same thing. It's different lenses to view the same thing.
Well, I think that actually even the term spirituality, which I must be honest with you, generally speaking, I have actually tried to refrain from using that term. And the pure reason for that is because as soon as you use that term, you're putting something infinite inside a square box, which greatly limits our understanding of it, okay? And what it also does, more importantly than that, you're creating a separation. Because when you say spirituality, you're already predefining the context that spirituality and science are two separate things when they are not.
Yeah.
Both are the
Yeah.
same thing. It's simply trying to understand the world. But because of the framing of these terms over time, especially now how they're kind of done in modern society, like when you say the term spiritual, I would say most people, 80-90% of people start thinking fucking crystals and like woo woo shit. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a loaded term. That's for sure.
Exactly. Whereas, like, if you then start to reflect on the origins of human race and our understanding, but more so interaction with reality, these things are not separate. So, for example, with Zoroastrianism, ancient Iranian religion going back 4,500 years ago, and I've got the symbol tattooed on my back as big as you could fucking possibly get it, and to me that symbol represents something very beautiful. But in Zoroastrianism, and which by the way, the meaning of the symbol is good thoughts, good words, good deeds. Okay,
Hmm.
and and to me, in Zoroastrianism, one thing that's so interesting about it is that there's a vertical understanding of reality, which is that on the top you have the good and then on the bottom you have the evil. But in both sides, you've already taken into context the physical, the metaphysical, the body, the mind, the spirit. It's all, each of these in one of these compasses. Okay, so it's considerably different to, like, let's say, a linear approach that you might have in Catholicism, which is that these are separate things.
Yeah.
But Zoroastrianism is not the only instance of these things being intertwined and combined as one. Okay, and uh, and I think that it's important to kind of keep that in mind. And I think that is a lot of people, like you might want to sell the conversation as, oh, we're talking about spirituality, but really we're just talking about reality and life as it is. Okay,
Yeah.
this
The
is
human
just
experience.
exactly, this is just a part of it. And I think it's important to not sort of draw these lines between these things, because then what it does is that it kind of also creates a separation in terms of the attention that that
Mm.
conversation is getting, because now immediately you have a camp who think that, oh, well, this is the spiritual side, I am more so of the side of science and what proof we've already seen. Okay,
Exactly.
that line in itself is a fucking betrayal of the human experience as far as I see it. It's no different to the red and blue that you see in America, as far as I'm concerned, which is only there to divide our real breakdown of reality as we're experiencing it.
Now I'm curious because Zoroastrianism typically gets contributed as the origins of duality.
Yeah.
Now, is that symbol, is it dualistic, or because you're saying it's like a vertical integration, is it just like a continuum, or is there like this and that?
So it's this and that, but the this and that are in eternal power struggle against each other. Okay?
Okay. So there's a
Which
balance at all times.
exactly. Which I think if you
Interesting.
look at least this was more so a revelation of Zurvanism, which
Mhm.
was a sub branch of Zoroastrianism that came a little bit later, by the way, okay? Because Zoroastrianism, to begin with, and Zarathustra, obviously, I'm sure everyone's read Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, fucking amazing. But you look at that, and you understand that this was more so a philosophy than a religion. Okay,
Mm.
and it was only after time that this way of philosophy turned more so into organized religion. And that was, by the way, I know a lot of Iranians don't like to admit this, but that was under some influence of Christianity and Judaism, which existed at the time. This is obviously pre-Islam, before all that fucking garbage came into play. But basically, um, what you're looking at here is you've got Ahura Mazda, which is the spirit of
Hmm.
good, and you've got Ormazd, which is or Angramanyu, which is the spirit of evil and darkness, and like bad things. And these two are at constant battle with one another. And that might seem like an abstract philosophical thing of looking at it, but like it's literally something that I feel like once you kind of open your eyes to it, you see it in your every single day to day life. On one hand, when you see someone like somebody like, I don't know, holds a door for you and says, "Hey, please, you go first." It's like, "Oh, no, you go first." It's like, "Okay, thank you so much." Smiles. Good experience. The next
Yeah.
minute, somebody fucking cuts you off in traffic. And then the next minute, you lose something, and then somebody says, "Hey, sir, you dropped this. Here you go." And then the next minute, somebody fucking rips you off. And then to me, it's like this constant back and forth of good. It's a real fucking thing. It exists in reality. And I think what I appreciate so much about Zoroastrianism, and obviously I'm not intending on oversimplifying this, but I think one of the mistakes we make in today's world especially is thinking that only one side exists. Okay,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
you can believe in both at the same time. There are so many people, I'm sure you've seen this yourself, that are like, "Woe is me, humanity's fucked, everyone is a bad person, we should just be wiped off the face of the earth." And then there's the other side that says, "Oh no, we're good," but then also goes to ignore everything that happens in our world. Whereas you can observe both at the same time and understand the nature of reality that all of these ancient philosophies and strains of thoughts have already been trying to fucking preach to us for thousands of years. All we have to do is just listen and you'll see it.
And that personally reminds me of kind of like, a Carl Jung approach of, the that kind of beast in man sort of idea where it's you can't cut that side off of you. And perhaps it goes back to what we're talking about is integrating the all sides of the self, when it comes to physical, spiritual, emotional, etc. Um, and uh, and I think now as a person in their 40s, it's the same reason why I looked at my mother's new agey beliefs. In spite of being at a Catholic school, my mom is deep into that kind of belief system of white light only, kind of ignoring a lot of the negative sides of being a human being is the same reason why I look at more of these kind of modern day takes on so-called Satanism or so-called KO Gnostic, whatever. The whole idea of like, you know, the world is inherently terrible and needs to be rejected because it's not observable with our own senses. That's not the truth.
It's
There are
like a
great
very
great
long-winded.
parts of life. You
It's
can
like
stand in
a
the Alps like you were saying and see and stand under the stars and holy shit, nothing in life is so good. Life is amazing.
yeah.
Or you can struggle. You can have a terrible day. You can experience death and betrayal and whatnot. And in the moment, you probably feel like, no, nothing is worth anything in this world. But I think that dual experience is important because of that balance, because that idea. So I really appreciate you sharing that with me and getting into that stuff because that's kind of how I've approached everything is the idea of this and perhaps it is new agey, but it is like this idea of a continuum where the Carl Jung idea of the enantiodromia where you want to unify the opposites so to speak, but to me like the anything that is opposite is just a continuum of the same thing, but what is that thing? So it takes an extra step of some kind of critical thought or just introspection to identify what that is.
And Fucking beautifully put, man. Fuck yeah. And the thing with that is, to me, this is why the music that we're into is so fucking relevant. And I've said this before, and I will say it again because it's such an important time to reframe this. But metal, especially in the context of the subgenre and the nitty gritty side of metal that we get into, and you start to see at a festival like Covenant, to me, that's the epitome of musical shadow work. What
Mm,
you're
yeah,
what you're
for sure.
doing is you're tapping into the shadows. So to me, it's like listening to, for example, earlier, when I'm in the gym and I'm going through this fucking ferocious leg session, doing fucking 20 rep back squats and like fucking screaming my head off whilst listening to Mitochondrion, I'm like microdosing poison, you know? It's microdosing poison, but it's
Yeah.
good because it gives you a higher capacity. The journey is not about the poison, but to let it be your guide and to work with it. And to me, even being sat here right now wearing this fucking Sabbath tank top, to me, I am wearing my scars on my sleeve. That's what that is. This is
Mm.
a vessel to experience the dark so you can fucking appreciate the light. And it's actually being intentional about the process. But I feel like so many people get into this and they become all about the poison. And then they wonder why their lives are falling apart. And I think many of us at some point have been there, by the way.
Yeah. I've maintained, and this is what the last kind of my last approach to writing a record, almost conceptually, with the most recent mitochondrion record, Vitraseptome, was this idea of parasinosis was very much about going into the abyss and just everything that's fucked up about the abyss. And you listen to that record, and it's like, yes, clearly that's what
Mm.
it's about. The irony with Vitraseptome is it sounds fucking insane and dark and convoluted, but it's very conscious about the idea that if you go into the abyss, the point is coming back out.
Mm.
You go into the abyss to learn something. You go to the abyss in like a Joseph Campbell way is to come back with that elixir of knowledge to then share with the world. If you go in the abyss and just wallow in there forever, then you're just doing half of the work and you're doing yourself a disservice and probably everyone around you because you're probably just become a massive asshole. So, the point of this work is to then reemerge with something, strength, insight, something.
The fool writhing to the zenith, cursed view at the firmament, precipice of empty crania and carrion, observed pallid shells and pale triumphs.
Yep, that's an arrogant asshole who thinks he's reached enlightenment, but he's just at the beginning.
Nice. I love your work, man. For anyone listening, that's the lyrics, well, essentially the opening lyrics to the last Mitochondrion record. Yeah, Vitraseptum. Killer record, by the way. Yeah, no, I love
Thanks,
this
man.
concept, man. This is
Yeah,
the way. I think this is a very. I think we're on to something because
yeah,
I think that this music, I've always known it's so much more than just a subculture. It's so much more than just a fucking series of notes that you play a certain way. There's a reason why, like, certain bands stand out even when they have like the same riffs. There's a reason why certain albums just fucking really pop out at you, even if like there's nothing crazy in terms of like the riffs or like the whatever, but there's just like this fire that's hidden in it. And to
yeah,
me, that this fire is there to kind of guide us in a specific path. It's just how we are willing to kind of interact with it, and also the acknowledgement of understanding. Like, I would never at this point in my life spend 24 hours listening to metal because it's counterproductive. Just like I wouldn't exercise 24 hours in a day. No, you need to train for like an hour, do it maybe 3 to 5 times a week. Then you need to go and fucking rest and reflect and let your body recover. Your mind is exactly the same. Your spirit is exactly the same. It's just the same as if they actually took your blood pressure whilst you were training it would look like you were fucking dying. All right? This is literal science. It would actually look like you are like about to unalive yourself. But you come out of that, and every time you're increasing the threshold. The micro
Mm,
poisoning of listening to death and black metal at its purest form. This is why we like the purity. It's the purity of the
yeah.
poison. You want to microdose on the pure stuff so that you can then reflect and then come back into it, but not let it define your entire life. Because if you take too much, you will actually become sick. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. There we go. Shawn, my man, what a fucking great podcast this turned out to be, man.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure to
Excellent
have you on, brother.
conversation, man. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thanks so much again, man. I really, really appreciate this. And
Absolutely, man.
make sure everyone check out Covenant Festival, September 24th, 25th, 26th. Go to covenantfestival.ca if you want looking for tickets. Um, yeah, we've got high ambitions, and this team is just getting started. So I think there'll be more to come.
I
And
really hope so, man.
I'd love to have you out there one day. So that would be killer.
I would love to visit, man. I have so many friends in Vancouver as well, and yeah, I'm connected to a lot of people there. I've heard good things about Covenant ever since I think your first to second installment when the
That's right. That's
yeah,
right. All those
yeah, yeah,
British motherfuckers came over. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That would have been the second one. And actually, that's funny you brought that up because that was a wild experience, and I was hoping we would eventually have an excuse to talk about it.
Oh yeah. We
But
got a minute to
yeah,
talk about it, man. It's no problem. Let's talk about that because that was the
yeah,
one where
yeah.
you had, I think, was it Grave Miasma, Funeral
It was
Throne?
Sheol,
Oh yeah,
Funeral
Sheol.
Throne, and I
Forgot about
think that
Sheol.
yeah, that was it. So it was actually because I know you're thinking Grave Miasma because McKenna plays in Grave Miasma now, but it was those guys. So we got to
Right.
know them pretty well. So now we're still very friendly with everybody. Some of them actually Ryan from that crew came and lived here for a while.
I know
Uh,
he did. Yeah.
every time I go to London or I try to connect with one of those guys, and I try to connect with the Grave Miasma people as well. Um, and yeah, man, it was wild. It was like the second year, our ambition shot through the roof. We had like Take on the bill, we had Volon, we had Drawn and Quartered. It just like if you go and look at the lineup for that one, it's just absolutely mental.
Bro,
And we
was
had it in
this the
this.
one? Sorry to interrupt you. You just reminded me of the story that I think my friends told me after they played there. Was this the one where like some fucking maniac ended up cutting Talk's tires and then ended up getting the shit beat out of him backstage? I mean, you're nodding at
Yeah.
me, so
Well, the way this one went down is, so we're downtown Vancouver, East Vancouver. Some kind of crusty individuals came in and just there to kind of those people just show up to make trouble. And they were trying to stage dive and get on the stage while Taka's playing,
mm.
which you probably shouldn't fucking do that. There's video footage out there if you dig of host, that's his name,
Yeah.
takes the mic
Morion,
stand,
nice guy by the way.
just bashes this dude's head in, like caves his skull in.
Oh, amazing.
Who's
I'm
and so then the guy,
understandable, it's personal space
for sure,
and middle of performance.
absolutely
I
don't
get it.
don't crawl on stage, especially if you've been told not to. And so he's running, he's bleeding everywhere. He goes into the washroom. There's blood filling up the sinks, and no idea what happened to this guy. So flash forward to after the set, one of them comes back with a bottle, a smashed bottle, and is wants to fight all of Take or wants to kill them or something. Now they came with security, their own security guy who looks like you and me combined plus another, and then 2 feet taller. So he's just like, that's obviously not going to happen.
It's
So
like
we turned
that.
to them like, look,
It's like that Rogan bit about Brock Lesnar, where he's like, "I'm not afraid Brock Lesnar might fuck me. I'm afraid he might use me as a condom to fuck something bigger."
just a massive Norse maniac.
Yeah.
And this guy just takes a look. He's like, no. And we eventually chase them off. We tell him like, oh, there's, one of your friends called the cops or something, and that was like, I told him to go fuck their mother or something like that. Anyway, because they hate cops. And then so they eventually fucked off. The situation diffused. They thought it was smart to go outside and slash the tour bus tires. While they're slashing the tour bus, these fucking morons don't realize the cops are standing at the end of the sidewalk just watching them like, all right, make your way to us. They get there, and then all three of them are arrested, sitting on the sidewalk in cuffs. Like, just the
Wow.
greatest. And that's just one story of that whole festival. It was just drugs and chaos. And we were doing it in this like venue that holds these like sex kink parties. At the time, it doesn't exist anymore. So when we showed up, there was just like a gay porn plastered all over the walls.
Oh,
And
lovely.
at first, everyone was like, "Oh, Jesus, fucking, what the fuck? Are we gonna have to clean this up?" And I looked at them. I was like, "You know what? Keep it, keep it, because it's gonna contribute to the chaos of this event." So it was
That's
just
funny.
like that was the atmosphere of that one. And so we're always trying to chase the dragon on that one and try to re-evoke the atmosphere of that. So possibly a little less chaotic, so we can actually have a functioning event, but not such a clean, saccharine, boring event that doesn't carry a little bit of chaos to it.
A little bit. Microdosing chaos, It's
There you
good
go.
for you.
Microdosing poison, microdosing chaos.
Fucking love it, man. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not fucking sold by now, I don't know what will sell it to you. So, Covenant Festival, check them out. 24th to 26th of September 2026, Vancouver.
Vancouver, BC.
And yeah, if you go to the description in the support our guest sections at the bottom, you'll have the link to the website, so you can just directly get your tickets from there. Shawn, my man, it's been a fucking pleasure speaking to you, brother. Really, really enjoyed your chat. And I really hope to visit the festival sooner rather than later. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Thank you, man.
my pleasure. And to everyone listening to the podcast, hope you guys enjoyed this one and see you on the next episode. Bye bye.
Welcome to Iblis Manifestations.